Good morning, security gang. Welcome back to the CyberHub Podcast, episode 1020, Tuesday, December 2nd, 2025. In the next 15 minutes, we're going to be covering a lot, including a 337 million person retail breach, an Airbus A320 software retrofit at the height of the holiday season, FTC's heat on education tech, and fresh attacks abusing Visual Studio Code, Chrome extensions, and even Zendesk. So you should buckle up for today's show because we've got a lot to talk about. But before we do, it's December, fourth quarter, time's flying, and my name's James Cesar. I'm the host. I'm also the Chief Information Security Officer by trade. So thank you all for tuning in. Packed show. Let's get right into it. So as I said before, got my double espresso this morning to power us through the next 15 minutes. Coffee cup cheers, y'all. All of our stories, by the way, for this podcast, everything's available after the fact in written format directly in your inbox if you subscribe at cyberhubpodcast.com. Just putting that out there. All right, let's go ahead and get started with South Korea's largest retailer, Coupang breach that's impacting 33.7 million people. Sorry, I said 337 earlier. 33.7 million people. Coupang disclosed that attackers accessed a massive data set tied to customer accounts. The stolen information reportedly does include identifiers like names, emails, and phone numbers, and even order adjacent data. Payment card numbers were not indicated as exposed in this specific breach. Again, this Coupang is huge in South Korea. I mean, huge in South Korea. The incident occurred on June 24th. And they began investigating on November 18th. Originally, they thought it may have been 4,500 accounts. They now know it's 33.7 million people. Coupang is a U.S.-based tech and online retail company that operates in the South Korea market and employs 95,000 people, has an annual revenue of around $30 billion, which means the regulatory exposure across multiple jurisdictions here is going to be insane. They also should be prepping themselves for some fraud waves like refund scam, loyalty theft, even account takeover against reused credentials, and even partner impersonation in marketplace flows. All of that should be on the radar for Coupang. Mitigations on their end, they should force password resets on all customer accounts. They should require MFA on risky logins. They should monitor for anomalous redemption and returns. They should be tracking that through their fraud desk. If they don't have one, they should set one up. They should block a bunch of lookalike domains. They should be monitoring social media and third-party apps with access to orders and returns in order to see if anyone is trying to profit off of that as well. So a lot for the team there to do. So good luck to the folks over at Coupang. All right. Airbus. So what does this have to do with cyber? Well, you might be asking yourself, what does it have to do with cyber? A whole lot. So a recent mid-air incident that involved a JetBlue Airbus A320 in which the aircraft experienced a sudden altitude drop that could have been catastrophic if not for fully trained pilots. I don't think people I've traveled to 100 countries. There are airlines where I boarded flights where I'm like, the moment we land, I'm just grateful. I'm like praying. I'm like, just ecstatic that we made it to our destination, because not everyone has fully trained pilots. We in the United States have amazing pilots that work for amazing airlines. This here be case in point. I think if this would have happened anywhere else in the world, it could have had catastrophic impact. The fact that it happened in the United States at a company like JetBlue tells you everything you need to know. I don't fly JetBlue often, right? I mean, I live in Atlanta. I'm a Delta guy through and through. But Delta runs in my blood when I fly. I rarely fly anyone else. If there's no other choice, if Delta doesn't go where I need to go, that's the only time I fly another airline. So, having said that, what does this have to do with cyber? Well, this goes into the idea of a software recall retrofit, and this is where Airbus did initiate a recall and a retrofit cycle for the A320 family software. While framed as safety and operational, it's actually reinforcing how complex software supply chains intersect with flight operations there. But it's also shown you how airlines are facing maintenance downtime and compliance scheduling as well. and vendors that handle avionics and ground systems, they're getting new patches and documentation demands. All of that is happening in real time. And when you think of that in the cyber world, in the cyber realm, this is no different than OT, operational technology. Well, these disruptions can happen anywhere. I mean, by the way, this is happening like at the height when people travel, right? This happened um, over the weekend as people were wrapping up their Thanksgiving, planning to go home. Flights canceled, some flights grounded. The airlines scrambling, having to call everyone in to patch the software because you're not messing around with anything but human life here. The mandate itself was pretty relatively straightforward, but required precise executions. Technicians reverted affected A320s to an earlier version of the software governing the aircraft's nose angle system, but this involved uploading the legacy software through a data loader device brought directly into the cockpit, a measure designed to prevent cyber interference, showing you how cyber played a critical role in this as well. And the installation process was simple in principle. Each aircraft had to be updated individually, creating workload bottlenecks for carriers and large fleets. And again, when you look at this, and we struggle with patching our environments, this like Airbus case, it might be a good corporate example at some point. And this may be like not my next article's already set. Maybe the third one, maybe the one heading into Christmas. What could we learn from Airbus? By then, we should have some data. So that'll go a long way there as well. We move to Illuminate Education settling with the Federal Trade Commission after a school breach. This breach happened back in December of 2021. I remember talking about it here on the show back then. This was nearly 4 years ago. The ad tech provider did agree to an FTC settlement after student data exposure affected multiple school districts. There was kind of agreements around data retention, deletion, and even their security program requirements under the FTC order as well. So that's kind of significant. And again, this is kind of more of a consent order. The data accessed by the attackers included emails and mailing addresses, dates of birth, student records, and even health information. A third-party vendor allegedly notified Illuminate that its network was vulnerable to attacks back in January of 2020, but the company did not address the problems. And so, as such, the firm has agreed to adhere to a publicly available data retention schedule that lays out deletion frameworks, establishes a comprehensive information security program, and notified the FTC if it has reported a data breach to another federal, state, or local agency. It doesn't appear like there was any sort of monetary fine for them here, other than a consent order to fix your ways. And that kind of tracks with how the Trump administration is kind of managing this, kind of these SEC case that they dropped against Tim Brown. Rightfully so. The consent order here, or, the slap on the wrist fines, they're primarily trying to get people in consent orders to actually do the right thing. We'll take it. I mean, it goes a long way there. Okay. We'll move to this $29 million in Bitcoin that was seized in a crypto mixer takedown overseas. Law enforcement seized wallets tied to a mixing service used by ransomware and fraud crews. The overall, according to Europol, crypto mixer was used to mix around 1.3 billion euros or $1.5 billion worth of Bitcoin since its creation nearly a decade ago. The service was targeted as part of Operation Olympia, conducted by law enforcement agencies in Germany and Switzerland with support from Europol and Eurojust. As part of the operation, they seized 3 servers in Switzerland, crypto mixer's surface web domain, and more than 12 terabytes of data, along with roughly around $29 million worth of Bitcoin. So, 1.3 billion to 29, not a big dent, but a dent. I mean, they love, law enforcement loves these numbers because they get to say, like, look, we put a dent into it, but they were laundering 1.3 billion and you got 29 million. So there's that. Okay, we're going to go to this one because this one, like, I was reading this story and I was just gasped at this. So India is now mandating a government cybersecurity app installed on all new smartphones. Authorities move to require a government cybersecurity application on devices and scope. Details vary by user group and sector of that user group, but you're talking about privacy and procurement applications for multinationals, potential conflicts with corporate MDM baselines, and even data residency issues all coming into play here. So if you are part of this, the order issued privately on November 28th gave major players like Apple, Samsung, Xiaomi, Vivo, and Oppo 90 days to comply, requiring the Sankar Sathi app to be installed as a non-removable feature on every handset. The move signals a significant tightening of state control over consumer electronics, the world's second largest telecom market, boasting over 1.2 billion subscribers. The government officials in India are arguing the measure is a critical defense against a surge in digital fraud and cybercrime. You can't even stop your own scam data centers. I mean, something to be said. According to the directive, the app serves as a citizen-centric shield, enabling authorities to curb the use of stolen phones and combat spoofed IMEI numbers, which are often used in criminal activities. This was launched earlier this year. The Sankar Sathi app platform was initially a web portal designed to empower mobile subscribers. Now it's becoming a mandatory app version, integrating several key safety features directly into the user interface, like Shakasu, a reporting tool for suspected fraud communication, including malicious calls, SMS, or WhatsApps, lost or stolen mobile blocking, connection management, and even Genius's checks to verify if the hardware and IMEI are authentic. Wow, talk about Big Brother there. Wow. I mean, if you're working with a team in India and that's a requirement, you've got a long thing about you. Like, just thinking off the top of my head when I was reading the story, you're probably going to have to clarify your scope of employee versus citizen versus device class. You're going to have to ring fence your corporate devices with MDM and COPE profiles. You're going to have to update your India data handling records, and probably even consult legal and monitoring obligations there as well. I mean, all of that. Whew. I mean, I'm glad I don't have to deal with it this time around, really, because this just it bugs me. Like, way government overreach. Like, we're going to put an app on your phone, and it's to protect you. Government's never in it to protect you. Just never. All right. Russia is tightening WhatsApp restrictions in the country. Russian regulators imposed fresh limits that degrade or block parts of WhatsApp's functionality in the country. So if you're looking at workforce and supplier communications, that's also going to be degraded. Users are going to migrate to less controlled channels. Increased BYOD, shadow IT is all going to be part of this. And again, sanction alternatives like manage signal teams via MAM, or enforce VPN ZTNA for field staff if you're operating in Russia, which very few of you are. I mean, we do have a Russian audience here on the show, but yeah, that's insane there as well. And again, they're more moving towards that kind of their own apps in Russia as well. That's been Putin's kind of goal all in, right? A kind of Russian-centric internet. So they're trying to push out and limit everything that's not Russian made. So Chinese front companies are being flagged in cyber operations. Their reporting is highlighting how shell and front entities used to purchase infrastructure, hire contractors, and even move money for operations are all part of the larger scheme that China uses in order to operate in cyberspace. You're looking at vendor risk and even payment flows that can mask adversary control, exposure via unconscious contractors, hosting, or even research firms. You know, that's something, by the way, in LinkedIn, very, very common. Someone will reach out to me, but hey, I'll pay you $500 to pick your brain as part of research we're doing for CISOs. And I go, no one's paying $500 to hear what I have to say. And if you want to hear what I have to say, you can tune into my podcast for absolutely free. That's there as well. So these organizations, they operate as front companies linked to China's Ministry of State Security. They play a critical role in modernizing the country's intelligence gathering capabilities. They maintain close institutional ties with government agencies and universities while pretending to be not tied into it. And again, everything in China ties into the government every time. So when you operate there, you want to lock it down. Lock it down. All right. The Glasswork campaign is returning with malicious Visual Studio Code extensions. This is the third wave of the campaign. The new malicious VS Code extensions resurface under a lookalike names to siphon data, inject scripts, or even run post-install payloads. Again, this is attacking your developer workstation, your CI/CD pipelines, and even your cloud credentials. Compromised chain, so you want to make sure you're disabling marketplace installs for production devs, approve list extensions, and mirror trusted extensions internally, rotate PATs and cloud keys where any suspected extension was trialed in order to make sure that you've got that covered if you're going to be using it in the long run. All right, Shady Panda browser extension hits 43 million installs. That's an unbelievable number. All right. So sorry, 4.3 million. I'm sorry. I don't know. I'm missing the dot. All right. A large set of Chrome family extensions abuse permissions to track users, inject content, and even exfil data. They're masquerading as utilities within these browsers. So again, session hijack, ad fraud, and even sensitive data leakage are all possible from employee browsers, especially sales and finance roles that have been mostly targeted here. Pushed a managed browser policy and block unknown publishers, enforce extension allow list, and flag unusual cookie harvest or clipboard access there as well. That'll go a long way to building some resiliency. Again, Shady Banda has been submitting extensions since 2018, but malicious activity really started coming in 2023. And you could tell, like, again, a long type of campaign. But once they get in there, again, look at this. Clean Master. How many of y'all would download it with a 4.8 rating? All y'all would. So that's something else to take a look at. And our final story here for the show today, a threat campaign abusing Zendesk environments. Adversaries are targeting customer support stacks, phishing through tickets, attempting agent session hijacks, and even abusing marketplace integrations to pull data or plant malware links. Ticket portals are becoming initial access data, exfil of customer PII, and even secrets attached to cases. You're looking at some brand damage via malicious auto replies. You should be enforcing SSO plus MFA for all your agents, IP allow list for admins, and quarantine file attachments, detections for mass export and abnormal API usage, rotate and scope your OAuth and skim tokens at any given moment. Will go a long way there as well. That's it for our show this morning. We'll be back tomorrow at 9 a.m. Eastern here at the CyberHub Podcast. You can catch us on your favorite social media platforms as well as our YouTube channel or anywhere you like to get your podcast. Please make sure to subscribe at cyberhubpodcast.com. Follow, share, like. If you have any stories or any questions, you can always reach out to us through one of our social media channels. Have a great rest of your day, and most importantly, y'all, stay cyber safe.
We love feedback, so make sure to connect with us on social media and subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast listening platform.